There is a strange irony in the human experience. We desire growth, success, and transformation, yet we shun the very processes that bring these things into our lives. We pray for strength, but wish away the struggle that forges it. In our more honest moments, we acknowledge that our greatest achievements have often been preceded by moments of pain, difficulty, and discomfort. This is not by accident, nor is it mere coincidence. It is the way God prepares us for something greater than ourselves. Let us consider the process of transformation. Imagine a sculptor shaping a block of marble. To create a masterpiece, the sculptor must chip away at the stone, sometimes with great force. Each blow might seem unnecessary, each stroke harsh and unkind, yet the sculptor sees what is hidden within. Similarly, when God prepares us, He often must remove from us what we cling to, even when it feels as though we are being torn apart. The pain is not a sign of His absence, but rather an indication of His presence. He knows that in order to create something beautiful within us, the old must be broken down. We must remember that the discomfort of divine preparation is not punishment but a necessity. Just as steel is tempered through fire, our hearts and minds are shaped through the trials we face. There is no growth without struggle. We cannot develop the strength to face life's challenges without first enduring some hardship. This is a truth we often overlook. We want the outcome without the effort, the victory without the battle. But the battle, though painful, is the means by which we are strengthened. Without it, we would be unfit to bear the weight of the blessings God desires to bestow upon us. In moments of difficulty, we may question why God allows us to suffer. We may feel abandoned or even betrayed. Yet if we look more closely, we will see that the pain is not without purpose. God's work in our lives is to prepare us for something greater. Just as a gardener prunes a tree to help it bear more fruit, so too does God prune our lives to help us bear the fruits of His Spirit. This pruning is painful, yes, but it is for our benefit. God does not break us to destroy us. He breaks us to rebuild us into something more useful, more beautiful, more capable of fulfilling His plan. When we face the pain of preparation, let us not shrink back in fear or despair. Let us remember that God's work in us is always for our good, even when the process feels unbearable. We may not see the full picture now, but trust that God is creating something far more glorious than we can imagine. Through the hurt, He is shaping us into vessels of honor, capable of carrying His light into the world. So, when God prepares you, remember, the hurt is not a sign of defeat, but a mark of divine refinement. Embrace it, for it is leading you to a place of greater strength, purpose, and beauty. The process of transformation. Transformation, in its most profound sense, is not a gentle process. It requires the dismantling of what was in order to create something new. When we think of personal growth, many of us envision it as a gradual, almost pleasant experience, akin to the growing of a plant under favorable conditions. We may imagine that we simply need to nourish ourselves with knowledge, skills, and opportunities, and eventually we will emerge as the best version of ourselves, without much hardship. But this view oversimplifies the nature of transformation, especially when God is the one who is preparing us for something greater. In divine preparation, transformation is often a rough and uncomfortable process. It begins with the realization that the person you were is not the person you are meant to be. And in order to become the person God desires you to be, parts of you must be changed, challenged, or even uprooted. This is not an easy task. It involves discomfort, resistance, and at times what feels like a complete upheaval of the self. Consider the analogy of a goldsmith refining gold. The gold, initially in its raw form, is mixed with impurities and rough edges. If left as it is, the gold will never shine in its full brilliance. But to refine the gold, it must be placed in the fire. The heat is intense, and the process is uncomfortable for the gold. Yet it is only through this heat that the impurities are burned away, leaving behind the purest form of gold, ready to be shaped into something valuable. In the same way, God allows us to undergo the fire of transformation. The pain and discomfort we experience are like the heat that purifies us, removing the impurities and imperfections that hinder our growth. At the start of any transformation, there is often resistance. We tend to cling to what is familiar, even when it is not in our best interest. Change can be terrifying, especially when it challenges our sense of identity or security. We resist letting go of the old ways, even when they no longer serve us. But God, in His wisdom, knows that in order for us to step into a new and greater purpose, the old must be shed. It is a painful process of dying to the old self so that the new self can be born. This can manifest in various forms: a loss of a job, the end of a relationship, the facing of a personal failure, or even an internal struggle with one's own limitations. These situations may seem like setbacks, but they are in fact the beginning of transformation. Transformation also requires patience. The process cannot be rushed, and it cannot be avoided. When God prepares us, it often happens in stages, each phase building upon the last. There are moments when it seems like nothing is changing, when we feel stuck or stagnant. But this is part of the process. Like a tree growing slowly, its roots burrowing deep into the earth before it can grow tall and bear fruit, our inner transformation may take time before it is visible to others. And sometimes it is only through hindsight that we realize how far we've come. The progress is often unseen, happening quietly within us, shaping our character and refining our motives. In this process of transformation, we are not simply changing on the outside. True transformation, the kind that God brings, always begins within. It starts with our hearts, our attitudes, and our thoughts. It involves a reshaping of our desires, our beliefs, and our values. It challenges our old way of thinking, pushing us toward a more mature, Christ-like perspective. The things we once cherished may lose their allure, and the things we once feared may no longer have power over us. Transformation is a deep, internal work that manifests externally in the way we interact with the world, in our relationships, and in our actions. One of the most powerful aspects of the process of transformation is the stripping away of self-sufficiency. It's tempting to believe that we can control our own growth, that with enough effort or discipline we can shape ourselves into the people we wish to be. But true transformation, especially the kind that God works in us, requires us to surrender control. It is about recognizing our own limitations and acknowledging that we cannot grow in isolation. We need God's intervention. We need His guidance, His wisdom, and His love to lead us through the pain of transformation. As we are being shaped, we may find ourselves questioning the very nature of the process. Why does it have to hurt so much? Why do we have to go through this? These questions are natural, but it is crucial to remember that the pain of transformation is purposeful. It is not an arbitrary test or a punishment. Just as a sculptor chips away at a block of marble to reveal the beauty hidden within, God's shaping process reveals the true essence of who we are meant to be. It is a process of revealing, not just removing. The process of transformation is about preparing us for something greater. Each difficulty, each painful experience is a step toward becoming the person God has called us to be. The process may hurt, but it is not without purpose. God is making us stronger, wiser, and more capable of fulfilling the purpose He has for us. Through this refining process, He molds us into vessels of honor, ready to carry out His will. The necessity of struggle. Struggle is an inherent part of the human condition. It is so deeply ingrained in our lives that it often feels impossible to escape. Whether we face personal challenges, societal obstacles, or inner turmoil, we find ourselves constantly engaged in some form of struggle. It is easy to view struggle as something negative, a force to be avoided at all costs. But sometimes, however, when we consider the broader perspective, we realize that struggle is not only inevitable but necessary for our growth and development, especially when it comes to God's plan for us. The necessity of struggle lies in its ability to teach us important lessons that cannot be learnt in any other way. Struggles shape our character, refine our abilities, and increase our resilience. Without struggle, we would remain stagnant, never pushing ourselves beyond the limits of what is comfortable or easy. It is in the midst of difficulty that we find our true strength, our capacity to endure, and our ability to rise above challenges. One of the most significant benefits of struggle is its role in building resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, to recover from setbacks, and to continue moving forward in the face of challenges. It is a trait that cannot be developed through ease and comfort. Just as muscles grow stronger when they are torn and rebuilt through exercise, our inner strength is built through the struggles we face. The more we endure, the more capable we become of facing future challenges with greater courage and wisdom. Without struggle, we would remain fragile, unable to withstand the inevitable storms that life brings. Struggle forces us to confront our weaknesses. We all have areas of our lives where we are less than capable, where we lack the skills, knowledge, or character necessary to overcome challenges. Struggling in these areas reveals these weaknesses, forcing us to acknowledge them and work toward overcoming them. Whether it is a struggle with a particular sin, a relationship, a professional goal, or even our own doubts and fears, it is through struggle that we are given the opportunity to grow and improve. God often allows us to experience struggles precisely because they expose areas in our lives that need attention and transformation. Another key aspect of struggle is its role in deepening our dependence on God. When life is easy, it is easy to rely on our own abilities, to believe that we have everything under control. We may forget that we are not self-sufficient and that our strength comes from God. However, when we face trials, we are reminded of our limitations and our need for God's help. Struggles force us to turn to God in prayer, seeking His guidance, strength, and wisdom. They lead us to develop a deeper reliance on His provision and a greater trust in His plan. It is in the struggles that we discover the depth of God's grace and the power of His presence in our lives. Through struggle, we learn to lean not on our own understanding, but on God's infinite wisdom. Struggle also plays a crucial role in refining our faith. When everything is going well, it can be easy to trust in God and believe in His promises. But when we are faced with difficulty, our faith is tested. Will we trust God when things don't go as planned? Will we hold on to His promises even when they seem distant or uncertain? The struggle serves as a crucible in which our faith is tested refined, and purified. Just as gold is refined by fire, so too is our faith refined through hardship. The struggles we face challenge our understanding of who God is and deepen our relationship with Him. They force us to ask tough questions, to wrestle with doubt, and ultimately to grow stronger in our conviction and trust. Struggle is necessary for developing perseverance. The ability to keep going, even when things are tough, is a hallmark of maturity. In a world that often values instant gratification, struggle teaches us the importance of patience and perseverance. It teaches us that not everything worth achieving comes easily, and that the path to success is often long and winding. The struggles we face along the way are not roadblocks but stepping stones, each one a test of our determination and resolve. Through each struggle, we learn the value of persistence, of not giving up when faced with obstacles. And when we finally emerge on the other side, we discover that the journey itself has made us stronger and more capable than we ever imagined. But struggle also nurtures empathy. When we experience hardship, we gain a deeper understanding of the struggles of others. We become more compassionate, more willing to offer a helping hand to those who are going through their own difficulties. Our struggles, in many ways, make us more human, more relatable, and more connected to the experiences of others. Through struggle, we learn to walk alongside others in their pain, offering comfort and support as we ourselves have received it. In this way, struggle not only transforms us, but also equips us to serve and minister to others. Struggle is necessary for spiritual growth. Just as physical exercise strengthens the body, spiritual struggles strengthen the soul. It is through the trials and tribulations of life that we are drawn closer to God, refined in our faith, and prepared for greater purposes. The Bible is filled with examples of individuals who went through incredible struggles. Joseph, Job, David, and many others. And through those struggles, their characters were shaped and their faith was strengthened. God uses these struggles to prepare us for the tasks He has set before us, to mold us into the people He has called us to be. Without struggle, we would not experience the fullness of His power and grace in our lives. Struggle is not only an unavoidable part of life, but also an essential component of growth and spiritual maturity. It refines us, builds our resilience, strengthens our faith, deepens our dependence on God, and prepares us for the greater things He has in store for us. We must learn to embrace struggle as a necessary part of the divine preparation process, recognizing that through it, God is shaping us into the people He has created us to be. God's purpose in pain. Pain is an undeniable part of the human experience. Whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, pain touches all aspects of our lives. When we encounter pain, whether it is a result of personal loss, failure, or unforeseen challenges, we often question its purpose. Why must we suffer? Why does God allow such painful experiences to come into our lives? These questions are natural, but to understand the purpose of pain, we must first shift our perspective. Pain is not random, nor is it meaningless. When we begin to view pain through the lens of God's divine purpose, we discover that it is a tool He uses to shape and prepare us for something greater. One of the most profound truths in the Christian faith is that God does not waste our pain. Every experience of hardship, every tear we shed, every broken moment, serves a purpose in His greater plan for our lives. God, in His infinite wisdom, allows pain into our lives not because He is indifferent to our suffering, but because He is using it to refine us. It is through the fire of pain that our hearts and souls are purified. The process may be difficult and uncomfortable, but it is a necessary part of God's work in us. Just as a blacksmith tempers steel by placing it in the heat of the fire, so too does God use pain to strengthen and refine our character, preparing us for the tasks He has set before us. God's purpose in pain can be seen in the way it brings us closer to Him. When life is easy, when everything is going well, it is easy to forget our dependence on God. We may find ourselves becoming self-sufficient, relying on our own strength, wisdom, and abilities. However, when pain enters our lives, we are often forced to confront our own limitations. We realize that we cannot handle everything on our own, and we turn to God for comfort, strength, and guidance. Pain has a way of breaking down our walls of pride and self-reliance, bringing us to a place of humility where we acknowledge our need for God's help. It is in the midst of pain that we experience God's presence most deeply. Our suffering drives us to prayer, to Scripture, and to worship in a way that ease and comfort never do. In this way, pain draws us into a more intimate relationship with God, fostering a deeper reliance on His grace and love. Deepening our dependence on God, pain also serves as a means of spiritual growth. Through suffering, God reveals areas in our lives that need transformation. Pain has a way of exposing our weaknesses, insecurities, and sins, allowing us to see ourselves more clearly. It forces us to confront our brokenness and recognize the places in our hearts where we have not yet surrendered to God. God, in His mercy, uses pain to bring these areas to light so that we can address them and grow in holiness. As we face the challenges of life, we are given the opportunity to develop perseverance, patience, and endurance. These qualities are forged through hardship, and it is through the crucible of pain that we are made more like Christ. Pain also serves a redemptive purpose. In the Bible, we see countless examples of individuals who experienced great pain but were ultimately used by God in powerful ways. Job's suffering, for example, was not in vain. Through his pain, he came to a deeper understanding of God's sovereignty and faithfulness. Joseph's betrayal and imprisonment were the means by which God positioned him to save his family and the nation of Egypt from famine. The Apostle Paul, who endured shipwrecks, beatings, and imprisonment, wrote some of his most profound letters during times of great suffering. These stories remind us that our pain is never without purpose. God can and will use our suffering to bring about something good, even when we cannot see it in the moment. His redemptive work often begins in the darkest of places, turning our pain into a powerful testimony of His grace and faithfulness. God also uses pain to prepare us for the future. It is easy to think of pain as a setback or an obstacle, but in reality, it is often a form of preparation. The challenges we face today are preparing us for the responsibilities and blessings that God has in store for us tomorrow. Just as an athlete must endure the pain of training in order to be prepared for competition, so too must we endure the pain of life in order to be ready for the tasks that lie ahead. God is shaping us through our pain, equipping us with the strength, wisdom, and character necessary to fulfill the calling He has placed on our lives. The pain we experience today may seem pointless or unbearable, but it is, in fact, a vital part of God's preparation process. Pain has the power to cultivate empathy and compassion. When we experience suffering, we develop a greater understanding of the suffering of others. We learn to empathize with those who are going through similar trials, and our hearts are softened toward those who are hurting. This newfound compassion allows us to minister to others in a more meaningful way. God uses our pain not only for our own growth, but also to equip us to serve others. As we experience God's healing and comfort, we are called to share that same healing with others. In this way, our pain becomes a source of ministry, allowing us to reach out and offer hope to those who are in pain themselves. Pain teaches us to hold on to eternal hope. When we are in the midst of suffering, it is easy to become consumed by our circumstances. We may begin to lose sight of the bigger picture, focusing only on the pain we are experiencing in the present. However, God uses pain to redirect our focus from temporary trials to eternal promises. As we endure pain, we are reminded that this world is not our final home. Our suffering is momentary compared to the eternal glory that awaits us in heaven. Pain teaches us to fix our eyes on what is unseen, to hold fast to the hope of eternal life with God. It is through this perspective that we find the strength to endure, knowing that our pain is not the end of the story.